Hello.
Hi, TDF fans. I'm Chris Giarmo.
And I'm Tendayi Kuumba.
And I am a multidisciplinary artist. I do dance, music, and drag and all kinds of things.
And I am an artist as well. I do as a vocalist, singer, songwriter, choreographer, creator of such. Yes. And we're here holding it down, representing as two of the vocalists and mover dancers of David Byrne's American Utopia. We're so excited to be back after touring since 2018 world tour, Broadway premiere. Now we're back for our return. So excited.
Yeah.
Very excited. It's great.
We're going to talk to each other. We talk to each other all the time. And now we're going to do it in front of you.
Yeah, with other people.
I can start. I'll ask the first question.
Okay. Shoot.
Before us. Did you grow up listening to David Byrne or the Talking Heads? In fact, I mean, I can do a little typo correction. It's Talking Heads. The Talking Heads. But you're gonna have some Talking Heads fans that may get pretty pissed off if you call
Very
them
true.
the Talking Heads.
They're quite particular.
Did you grow up listening to David Byrne or Talking Heads?
No and yes. I feel like indirectly grew up, of course, hearing Talking Heads and not knowing who I was listening to. My mother's sister, my aunt Taliba, is like huge music head. She's like my go-to music encyclopedia for my life. So through her, I know I've heard Talking Heads, but no, I was not familiar as people I've encountered, but more familiar than I expected.
Yeah. I feel like I'm the same in a way too. Like I heard them my whole life, wasn't really fully aware of it. But for me, high school was when my friend, Mike Cacciatore, shout out Mike Cacciatore, was a huge Talking Heads fan, and he really introduced me to their music, and that really kind of got me into them. And I remember Naive Melody was like the song that I remember hearing like in high school and being like, okay, this is just the best song that's ever been written. And all through college just being like, oh yeah, put it on every playlist. Like it was.
Now you put it on here.
Now people are putting us singing it on stage.
I know. And singing along with it. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And everything, having memories. Yeah.
How does it feel to be doing, like, I know we have many more questions, but like to perform music that so many people have such a deep lifelong connection to?
I don't think I'll ever fully ever get I don't think I'll ever fully grasp it, because it feels like it's so many people have so many stories about every song and every situation, as we all do with like our favorite artists. And then of course, once I was doing the show and we're traveling around the world, I swear every store I walked into was playing like Naive Melody. Every TV show I watched ended with Burning Down the House. Like, what was it, Handmaid's Tale ended, and I was like, are you kidding me? Yeah, it felt like I had entered this amazing wormhole that I didn't even realize I was in, but in the best way possible.
Yeah, it's deep.
That's deep.
I mean, the whole is deep.
It's infinite. Okay. What's it like performing Annie B. Parsons' choreography on different stages? How does the St. James Theater compare to other venues that we've been in?
Well, as we both know, on tour, we performed at a different size stage every day. So we had a lot of experience performing on lots of different stages. the Hudson Theater, where we did our first Broadway run, where we debuted on the Broadway. That was actually the smallest stage that we performed on the entire tour. So that was really interesting to kind of adjust this choreography that we had done in these huge spaces. Some of them were like enormous stages.
Yeah.
Some of those festivals in Europe were huge. And it was great. I thought it worked well at the Hudson. I thought it was great in the film, which we'll talk a little bit more about. But the St. James Theater it's a rectangle, and the Hudson is a square. And Annie B talks really beautifully about this, I think, in an interview recently, where she talks about just like the kind of emotional difference between a rectangle and a square, where a square, you are always aware of the four walls. In a rectangle, because of like the landscape nature of it, you can imagine infinity on either side. You could like let your brain kind of think of this kind of long, wide space. And so that was the shape that the piece was originally choreographed for. So it's interesting because when you look at it from the audience, it really truly looks, I think it looks a little bit better in this space, the wider space. But performing on it, I was worried because I was like, oh, an extra 10 feet of running around. Ooh, I'm going to be more winded. But actually, I think the more space allows you to kind of breathe, or me at least, to breathe and move through the piece a little bit more freer. And it's actually easier to perform in a slightly wider space. Yeah,
I concur with that. Yeah, it does feel nice to have this extra amount of space. It almost feels like it was already there a little bit. But then the navigating of that, definitely there's more. I feel like everyone has a little bit extra, like a little extra length in their body. Yeah. And then with the third balcony that we have, that I feel like even during the choreography, I started playing games with where I'm looking throughout the choreography. So I try not to leave anybody out. And so when it's like we can really look all the way up to these big chandeliers and all of that, it always feels very nice. I mean, I loved it at the Hudson as well. It felt like a nice little family. And then here it feels like we kind of found a way to like transport that to this, and then people that have been hungry from the pandemic for live theater.
Yeah. And I feel like we've talked a lot about like the size of some of the choreography too, and how like these very small movements, we say the small kinesphere, like the amount of space your energy, your body energy kind of takes up, like how those small things translate to larger spaces. And I feel like the bigger the spaces get, I know this from on the road, I feel like we would hone in on more of those really tight, small movements. And it's this thing where you realize like the more specific and focused you get on these smaller things, the further they actually can reach an audience. So in these bigger houses, that's almost interesting because I was like, oh, it's going to be a bigger house. I mean, the audience size of the St. James is almost twice as large as the Hudson.
Right.
But I really feel like we're just so rehearsed at really doing our thing in so many different spaces that for us, it's like we just kind of roll with it and keep these like very precise moments, very small and precise, and then the huge big moments, nice and huge and big too. But I love that. That's fun to do in this space, to like be able to really do that contrast. There's people like way, way, way far away in the balcony that are still seeing this tiny little thing. I love that.
Yeah. I definitely think about that during the silent dance part. For some reason, the two parts I think sometimes a lot about the balcony is the silent dance part and the walking in bullet with this rectangular shape of the stage compared to a square. That is something that simply walking after everything we do throughout the whole show, that part has become one of the most calculated moments for me in the show, like trying to time when you turn, when I take a breath and step, which out of all moments when we're singing and dancing and twirling all over the place. But it's been nice to figure out how that shifted in like this new theater.
Yeah. All right, Tendayi, is this the
Mhm.
first in-person production you've worked on since the pandemic, and how does it feel being back in front of the audiences?
Um, yes, as far as like big production, because I wasn't doing any Broadway before I came back to Broadway. Um, but I did I was able to perform with Afro Haitian dance company that I work with, Ashe Dance Theater Collective. I was able to perform with them, and we performed actually with BAM outside, but that was outside, and it was a piece that was to commemorate and remember people that we had lost throughout. And there were like names people that we lost throughout this pandemic, and or people that we just lost that we want to remember on one that were departures. And then people that were still with us and that are our family, that are our rivals. So that was like my first performance with people, but it was outside. And then I did a performance with at New York Live Arts, which is of my own work with my partner with You Fly Mothership and our work. And that was the first time I had performed our work in a public space, because everything had kind of been digital throughout the whole pandemic. So that was interesting, but because it was inside, it was only like 10 people. And I'm like screaming and dancing and, and the energy was there and it was beautiful, but it was like, oh, if we could only get 10 more people in here, and that would be so sweet. So this is definitely the first time that I'm back in this capacity of performance, which is on such an enormous scale. um and it's been a shift. I feel like I kind of took like performing baby steps before coming back, so it didn't feel like such a shakeup. um and I felt just really, it made me actually, I feel like more like not more hungry. It made me hungrier to get to larger spaces. Like each time, you get that performer's itch, I think, or something where, especially for those of us that find home on the stage, you kind of get this churning that you just are ready to just, I don't know, ham it up, push it out, whatever that is.
Yeah.
And I felt like I took baby steps within safe artistic spaces in live performance art before getting here. And so then once getting back this huge space and being like amongst each other again, and everyone's dynamic post-pandemic, or still in the midst of pandemic, all of that, it was just like an overwhelming of emotions, of willingness to want to dive in, but then also a little bit of caution to like want to really, really hold on to like the little things that I found within myself throughout this isolated time, that, as I'm sure a lot of performers were sitting around maybe questioning, like, what am I doing with my life? Who am I? Am I a performer? Am I even a dancer? Should I even do this? So, and to get through all of that and then come back out and be like, yeah, I can do this. I am doing this. Actually, it's time to do the show. How to bring all of that to circle back around and have this kind of push of a 6-show week kind of push. I feel like it's just been a really, really beautiful roller coaster. So it's been really nice to find this as the next stop of like performance art. And then all of us coming back together, it's like we created a nice little bubble on stage, no matter what the energy is in the audience. And then we just keep drawing them into our bubble instead of feeling like we have to keep on pulling stuff out of ourselves, like exhausting ourselves. I feel like I've been feeling that within myself and amongst us on stage, is that everyone started to kind of cultivate their own little jam within the show, rather than faking the funk, I guess.
Yeah.
That was needed, but that's how it felt. It felt great.
It was a long time to be away from performing, so there's a lot to say.
It was a long time. It took baby steps for me.
Yeah, I did one gig before this, which was also an outdoor show. It was just a kind of preview of a piece that I'll be working on further with Taylor Mack in the years to come. We did a little preview of it at Lincoln Center out of doors, and it was great, but the audience was like socially distanced in these little duos, so 2 and then 10 feet and 2 feet. So it was like a kind of mixed return, because we were performing live again in person, but it was this weird kind of like thinned out audience. The energy was not nearly as I don't know, as like full as performing in like a full house or even an outdoor festival, which we're very accustomed to. But then coming here, I was super nervous about like what the audiences would be like, especially with masks on, because we, if anybody doesn't know, we see you when we're watching.
Very much so.
There's not a fourth wall, really. We see you having a great time. We see you talking to your friend about what is that. We see you falling asleep. Yeah, we see. But you know, and we feed off of that. Like we've said this many times before. It's one of the I mean, there's so many things that like come from the concert world that we've continued, like the music rock world. That's one of them, is that we take the energy from you as an audience member so much. And so that really fuels us. And I was curious like how that would work with the masks and everything. And honestly, like when we were back in this theater with that many people in the room, it didn't feel so different to me, like with the masks. And I was very happily surprised by that. And that has been, really coming back did feel like a return to something that's just like coming home to something. And I remember I watched a bunch of videos of like live performances that I had done for my YouTube channel, Kimberly Clark on YouTube. But it was like a little kind of like welcome back to live performance, come out and see the shows type of thing. And I was watching those, and I showed a lot of clips of our tour, and just reliving all of that was such a great kind of primer for me to like remember those experiences, because it was different than Broadway. And I actually kind of enjoyed having this time between our last Broadway run and this to recalibrate a little bit. And for me, it feels like a little bit of like a return to more of that, like, I don't know, live, exciting, and dangerous energy of tour. You know, and so in a way, it's like a little, it's actually like it's filling up my cup in a way that I almost didn't have the first run. So that, there's something very satisfying about those.
I feel like that's kind of the energy that our audiences are kind of showing up in too. Where it's like, okay, well, we can't technically travel to all the music festivals we want to go to, so we're going to come to you all show, and this is going to be our music festival right now.
Exactly.
That's what it's been feeling like, and it's been like so entertaining, to say the least.
Yeah. If we thought we were hungry, I mean, those audiences are hungry.
They're ready. I love it. I love it.
That's great.
Okay. Is this you or me?
I think it's you, right?
Okay. Spike Lee's film adaptation of American Utopia was released on HBO Max last fall. Did you watch it? And what kind of feedback did you get from friends and family?
Ooh. Well, yes, I watched it. I live in New Orleans, and so I spent the most of last year in New Orleans. And so when the film premiered, I watched it from my couch. And honestly, for me, the first couple times I watched it, I didn't realize I was doing this until someone said to me, I was watching the whole, like the total image, and I'm if you don't know, TDF fans, I'm the dance captain and vocal captain of this show. So honestly, the first couple of viewings of it, I was just like, oh my God, we sound so good in that harmony. Oh my God, we're nailing that spacing. Oh my God, Spike really captured this choreography so well. Yes, look at those lines. Yes, like, and
Right.
someone said to me, they were like, oh, I love that shot of you and Lazy when you wink at the camera. And I was like, what are you talking about? And they're like, you know, when you like, it's like a very clear moment. Like you're like, wait, it's like a beautiful shot. And I had no idea what they were talking about. And I realized that I didn't watch myself at all. Like the first like 2 times I watched it, I was just purely in
You're watching
awe.
for notes.
Yeah, I was watching for notes. But it was like I was just in awe of this thing that we all made.
Mm-hmm.
And I was surprised at that because I'm a drag queen. I got some ego. Like I know how to look at myself and love myself, but that was really shocking to me that I really was like more interested in the band than in it, like us as a band than me. And then of course I went back and watched it, and with like Nathan, my husband, was like, okay, look at what you're doing there. And we had to like rewind a couple of times to make sure I got all this stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I watched it. I'm here in New York. And for those that do not know, we were able to have like a little band private viewing, social distanced viewing of just the band and immediate family. And it was just an experience in general where, yeah, you're thinking about what the show is, you're thinking about the sound, thinking like, whoa, look at that shot. Whoa, he cut to that. Wait, what did he capture? Because there was so much happening with the filming. It was like, you just wonder what's going to stay, what's not going to stay, you know. Definitely went home and then watched it again and just kind of toasted myself with a glass of wine and danced with myself on the screen just because it's like, oh, I can do this right now. This is pretty cool. Yeah, and I treated it, and maybe it's like the Leo in me. I was definitely looking at myself and taking notes and thinking of not in a way of just like critiquing, but just wanting to continue to push myself. And it's very nitpicky things that I'm looking at, like my feet, like sickling, or like, oh, I need a point, you know, like things like that, or my blending on my makeup, you know, things that I might not necessarily used to pay as much attention to, but I wanted to a little bit more. I just thought about just how like football players watch a highlight film, not because something is wrong, but just seeing spaces and gaps and quirks or things that you're just not always aware of. Like you said, like blinking and things like that. So I think it was a really funny experience, not in a bad critiquing way, but just in a like, I do that? I didn't know I do that. I didn't know I look like that when I sing that part. I didn't know that they do that behind us. Oh, wait, that does happen. Yeah, so definitely that for sure. And then, I mean, friends and family are just happy that you're in a movie. They're like, you did it.
Yeah. I mean, it was, I'm glad other people saw it to like to be like, you're in a Spike Lee joint. Like to remind us how, because for us, it's such a, we focus so much on doing it. And frankly, when Spike was there with his crew, it felt like it was just another family of artists, like meeting our weird family. And we just hit it
doing
off.
Some stuff together.
Yeah, it wasn't like this kind of weird, it didn't feel like some precious thing when we were doing it. It just felt very right and easy. And so, but to have other people like be like, that's insane that you're on Broadway and in a Spike Lee film.
Yeah, like, it's getting actually even more now, because I guess now they're all on planes and people are flying a lot more. So actually now more than ever, I'm actually getting a lot of people posting, watching it on their flight. Right. And I'm like, I actually kind of value that even on another scale, because when you watch a film on a flight, it can either like be what makes you go to sleep or like you really take it in. Yeah. So the fact that someone wants to take that time and be like, you know what, I'm gonna watch this. It's like, thank you. That's what's up. And then not only like you're watching it, you're experiencing our world And so I really love that for people that have not been able to come to the show live, or our schedules never match up, or I could never get them a ticket or something like that, where now I'm getting like these pockets of bubble of more love. So
Yeah.
it's like a beautiful time capsule now that we are a part of. And it just happens to be a Spike Lee joint.
Yeah. Yeah. No biggie. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Do you think any of the show's songs speak differently to audiences in 2021?
All of them can, honestly.
Right? Yeah.
I mean, really, even with joining the tour and really studying David's music, I really loved his writing, like, and just the ways that he tells stories in certain songs, and yeah, like just I don't know. I feel like, especially because we've been at home with ourselves. I don't know about you, but I've gotten a lot more accustomed to having conference calls internally within myself, like, conference meeting, everybody comes. And I feel that sometimes David's music, it just expresses all those thoughts that are coming into your head, but puts it in like a succinct way that it and a musical way that it's like, oh, if I could sing how I'm feeling right now and what's kind of happening right now, I feel like it might sound like this, or I don't know. So I feel like, um, wait, what was the question? I just blanked out. Blanked out.
Thank you.
Yes. Songs speak differently. The song that I was thinking about is Miracle. Because when I first heard the song, I was like, oh, this is nice. But then when I hear the lyrics, you're like, oh, this is a little quirky.
Right.
But then when you really hear lyrics, it makes you think, you're like, no, but these are real thoughts that, like, yeah, yes, absolutely. What does a roach and Mona Lisa, like, they don't care. I don't know.
Yeah.
So those things like that, I feel like have changed. His monologues really in between the songs, I feel like really have a different note. I mean, aside from him actually saying that he's thinking about things differently, I think it just ties in all of the music in the show in a very different way from when we were looked at from like just like a show that was on tour as a rock band. I feel like it started to shift more into this storytelling and a sense of hope in a lot more ways, especially with all the protests and everything that we could not run away from. So I feel like going from like Miracle to Hell and even I started thinking of this connection from Burning Down the House to Hell You. And, we could think of Burn Down the House like this party song, but I also, if you want to get all deep, like burning down the house of patriarchy, and then we come in with Hell You, and then what is it to have that roaring energy that you have when you're singing Burning Down the House still? What is that when it shifts from like how music can make us escape our world? How do we channel that energy and still keep it with when it's like right in our face and things are burning down in our face? That's like the revolutionary side of myself. But and then coming back in with One Fine Day of like finding a way to hold a container for ourselves within this space that we just made. So I feel like I've been feeling that towards the end of the song, at the end of the show, those final couple of songs of like Blind, Miracle. They've been meaning some different stuff to me. So it might open up some portals for some other people too.
Yeah, I concur, and I think they absolutely do. I mean, I think the audiences really are like vibing the end of the show in a way that, there's like the base. I think this question is slightly leading because it's like, do more people say more names in Hell You Tombout, which is, if you're not familiar, it's a Janelle Monáe song that we cover in the show. And it is basically just reciting names of Black, brown, indigenous people that were murdered by the police or white supremacists. Yes, of course, more people are more obviously supportive. Even with the masks on, we hear more names being repeated. It feels really good. But I think, to your point, it's about that actual like arc of the end of the show. It's not just this kind of one moment. I feel like maybe in past versions, I mean, on tour, if any of you saw the show on tour, we ended the tour, our entire set with that song. And it was very much a kind of like, whatever you were feeling, however you were loving the show or vibing, here's an important message, bye.
Sit with that.
See you later. And here we guide you a little bit further along in that. And honestly, I think it is landing a little bit better this time. Not even just that song, but yeah, exactly as you said, that kind of that flow of the end. Not to give every audience member a pass. I know there's some of you out there that are still not saying names, and we, like I said, we still see you. Even
I see the jaws moving underneath the mask. I see it.
Yeah, so please say some names. It's literally the least you can do. If you don't know why you need to say names, just try it. It's a very cathartic, visceral experience to not only hear these names, but to actually say them.
Indeed. Indeed.
All right. Speaking of, audiences at American Utopia can be very vocal and opinionated. What are your most memorable audience reactions?
I have two that I thought of. One was like, beautiful. Okay, maybe three, but I'm going to go with two. One was like, oh my God, this is real. And another one was like, oh my God, this is real. Okay. So, well, since we're already talking about performing Hell You, most memorable, St. Petersburg, Florida, we were on tour and we started singing Hell You, and a man, and I don't know if he was with his wife or who all, but they started just storming out, and he yelled front row at the stage, what are you like, this sucks, or something.
This is bullshit.
There you go. That's what it was. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it was just like, you're right. It is actually. You're right on the money with that. I wish we were on the same side, but it is. Yeah. So that was definitely a moment, especially because no one flinched. Everyone was just like, just either sit in your seat and say a name or go home.
Yep.
You know, just what are you trying to prove to us? Because we're here and we're doing it, you know. So that was a moment. And then another moment where it was, I can see the space, but I cannot remember. We were in the UK. It was around Halloween. That's when I carved that pumpkin in the dressing room. To the beach.
Brighton.
We were in Brighton, yes, in the UK. And I don't remember what song. Maybe it was Naive. But there was this young boy in the front just bawling his eyes out. I think that was a theater. And I mean, just like tears of just joy and amazingness. And it was like, he couldn't believe this was happening. And I'm looking at him like, wow, he's looking at us was looking at David, but he's looking at us too. Yeah. You know, just to be a part of something like that. You know, you think of, I don't know, you see videos of people and they see Michael Jackson or these fans. And I've never been, I've had some groupie moments, but I've never been overcome like that, and overwhelmed to that extent when I've seen someone perform where it just seemed like this uncontrollable energy, and to see and to be a part of that. I started getting emotional and was like, wow, man, this is deep. Like, I get to do this for a living. Like, what is life? And I'm thinking, what is life? You're looking at us like, what is life? Like, what a moment right now. Like, those are the moments that are just sweet, you know, just sweet spots for sure. So that was definitely, those are my two that immediately, yeah.
The one thing I thought of was, I'll keep this short, it was at some festival and where everybody was standing, and we didn't hear this, but I think either Doug, who's our lighting director, or Pete, who's front of house mixer, told us afterwards. And it's in one number, we all lay down on the stage. And it was in a tent, or it was night, so the lights went out, so they couldn't see us lay down. And we laid down, and I guess because everyone was standing, by the time we laid down, we had disappeared, or it looked like we were dead or something. And so, and it was a music festival, so people were enjoying themselves in lots of ways. And the lights come on and we're all on the ground, and someone from the audience just yells, "Oh no!"
Like we just all collapsed.
Like we all collapsed.
We didn't care. We're okay. We made it back up. Surprise!
Right.
Oh, what happened to the band? They're just doing the next song. It's okay.
Oh
man. Oh, what's the most important thing you've learned from working with David Byrne?
The most recent important thing, which, because there's so much I've learned from that guy. I mean, like over these last 10 years that I've worked with him now.
Yeah, you got
12 maybe. Oh God. But honestly, recently, and this is like just a really exciting thing that it changes how I look at people. Just to feel the immense joy and pride of just getting through the damn show. Like having that be enough. Like really, like he's performed so much. He's such a pro. He's like performing, touring, like all of these things that it's so intense to do
while still biking.
Yes, right. And he really thrives in it. And I think there's this like, part of it, I think, which I've learned recently is like, we did it. Like we just got through it. Like this one show, I flubbed up some huge thing in it, and I was so apologetic after recently. And he was just like, stop apologizing. It's like, don't worry about it. It's fine. And I was like realizing like, oh, we finished the show, and now we're going to do another one tomorrow. And just to say, like, if anyone's seeing any show right now, Broadway or otherwise, I mean, just the physical, emotional stress, like everything about being alive in the world at this time. I mean, Broadway is already stressful. Performing anywhere is already stressful, but there really is so much extra stuff that is on all of us. And just to really appreciate any performer that can start a show and finish the show. Like that's really made me really value that.
And sustain it, like in a healthy way. Yeah. Many things. Ditto on that for sure. I'm trying to like minimize. Well, one thing is just holding space. Like he's really good. I feel like it just like when the fans and everything after a show or something like that. Like he's really good at just holding space. What he will do, what he won't do, and he's out. Doesn't always have to linger around to get the residual energy. Like he's out. Just this way of when and how to navigate how much energy you give, where it doesn't drain you, but you also are showing up. And I think from what I've understood, that's been like something he's worked through within himself as a performer anyway, like as a solo artist, part of the Talking Heads, all of that. So I feel like I learned a lot about that, even watching him on tour, just how he would like have the energy to do all this stuff. Because if I'm tired and I don't have like 4 interviews and 3 photo shoots that day as well, what's my excuse? And so, just I really appreciate just how he navigates his energy and the flow of energy and who people he keeps around him, and constantly being inspired because he's really supportive for all of us. Like he came to my show in New York Live Arts. Like if we reach out to him, he's really supportive of us and our individual artistic endeavors, and not just showing up, but like giving feedback, and staying like, and how it inspires, like you could tell that he is staying inspired himself. So definitely that too, like staying inspired.
What's performing barefoot on stage like, and do a lot of people ask you about it?
So many people ask me about it. Everybody wants to know about the toes. For me, it's second nature.
Same. Yeah.
I've been dancing barefoot my whole life. Anything from barefoot to ballet shoes, I didn't dance in it all. So it's nothing to me. I was very happy that the show is barefoot. I was like, I don't have to wear character shoes. Just gotta make sure I massage my feet out so I don't cramp up, and I'm okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so feels great to me. A lot of people ask me about it, and I say the same thing. I say, yeah, I'm pretty used to this. I roll around the floor for fun. So yeah, downtown dance world, everybody's barefoot.
Yeah. Same. Yeah. People ask us about it because not a lot of people do it on Broadway, but we're doing a lot of things that not a lot of people do on Broadway. And there you go.
Shaking it up. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. What's one thing an individual can do to move us closer to utopia?
I mean, I thought about this. There's so many things. I'd say listen. That phrase has been used a lot, especially over the past year. It's like this, I feel like it's often used as like a kind of out, like a little excuse from doing something, one might say. Like, I'm just listening, I'm trying to hear everybody, and I'm just going to take some time and listen. But that's not enough, but it just can never stop. And so I feel like a lot of people, maybe what's frustrating about people hearing that in terms of like how to move the world forward is like, it doesn't feel like enough. It's not enough to just sit back and listen. But if you're gonna take any steps forward, you have to constantly listen. You can never stop. That goes for art making as well. And so that's the thing, I think, that is one thing you can do, whatever you're doing, wherever you are, whoever you're interacting with, as you continue to learn more about ways to make the world better, make sure you're not closing yourself off to the voices of others, especially the voices of people that do not look like you.
Yeah. Ditto with that. I thought about, in the midst of when like protests and things were going on, one of our former lighting designers, Doug, messaged me and was like, is there anything that I can do? Like, what do I do? You know? And I feel like sometimes it's just like looking at working with PSAB, People's Institute for Survival and Beyond, which is an organization that I work with through Urban Bush Film and Dance Company that deals with understanding and undoing racism and understanding and undoing racism in our organizing and our art making. And within that, talking about like being a gatekeeper. And so sometimes I think it's just even thinking of where you're a gatekeeper at. So like when he asked me like, oh, what could I do? And I was like, I mean, I don't know, maybe next time you get a lighting gig, think of someone that you wouldn't normally go to come with you, that is in that profession or is looking to get deeper in that profession, but maybe has a different environment. You know, it can be something as simple as that. Yeah. So I feel like sometimes, like you said, those are like those small things where it's like, yeah, like within how our stage management team has now like, we've kind of multiplied in this women power. We have, you know, variety of women representing now backstage in the backstage area, seeing diversity within the backstage crew, you know, and what that takes for you to just call somebody up and then to call someone up. I mean, that I think starts to create its own little system, ecosystem within the system. So yeah, you know, each one teach one. Reach out and touch somebody's hand.
I love that you mentioned our stage management team, like, because I think a lot of people think of like the optics of like, oh, it'll look good if we have an all-female stage management team.
Right. No, what they look like, with how badass they are.
Yeah.
That's like what is beautiful to see.
And yeah, like what it actually does, like it actually brings like this other level of just comfort and ingenuity that is just rare on theater and Broadway, especially. It really, like, yeah, I feel like yeah, for anyone out there that has any power, period, think about that. Like, not just what looks good or what's going to sound good or what's going to sell more tickets,
or
but
what
actually,
makes you feel comfortable.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Part
Just
of
like,
it is just challenging when it's uncomfortable. Like when you're talking about like saying a name, and it's like just say a name. And sometimes even if you don't say a name, maybe ask why it is, what is stopping you or what is feeling conflicting in yourself to not want to participate, to not want to jump into breaking these, breaking these patterns, breaking these walls.
yeah. Last question. We did it. Oh, and this is a go. Yeah, what is this me or is this you? Oh, I forgot already.
I'll go. Last question. What have you learned as artists in non-commercial dance and theater that would be helpful for Broadway as it returns?
Yeah. This was one of the things I think we both come from. I guess everyone comes from the non-commercial theater world. This is like, I was thinking about this. I was like, maybe there are some people that got a Broadway gig.
Child actor.
Yeah, if you've been on Broadway since you were 3 or something, and maybe you've been here the whole time. But most of us that are here came from other worlds, and we're doing art and making work without making a lot of money. And one of the things I think that because of like lack of resources in like downtown or experimental theater, dance theater, or even the dance world at large, really, is it really because you don't have just so much capital and so much competition and so much pressure and paperwork and bookkeeping. You're really beholden to just like treating people ethically and just and working with each other and kind of like devising work together. And so I think that's a thing that has been very slowly happening in Broadway. I mean, Hamilton was kind of a groundbreaking show in the sense that it really acknowledged who made the show, that it was everyone that made it. And I think the reality is, we say devised theater or something to refer to like a specific kind of theater, but let's be real, all theater is devised. All performance, not even, I don't care how big shot the director is or whatever, the playwright or composer or star or whatnot, everyone that is in the room, that is on that stage, that is behind the scenes, that is in the rehearsal room, is a part of every show. And I think acknowledging that is just a closer step to kind of having all these other things in terms of, payment and equity and all of that happening in the future. And David is, he's been great about that. I mean, we were on tour with him, but to clarify that a little bit, we lived on a bus with him. We're not, he wasn't in a bubble, or in a special limo or something flying away.
Our tea and coffee together.
Yeah. And so we talked with him about the show as we were making it. He was really interested in everyone's feedback, and it really made the show what it is. And that's something that I have experienced in almost all of the other work that I've done, the non-Broadway work that I've done. And it's just great to see a show that also has done that be as successful as it is in this commercial way, because it opens the door, I think, for that ideology, especially for producers to understand that, to really understand what it takes to make a show with a lot of people in it. It takes these people, and you got to value all those people. No one's disposable, and everybody contributes.
Yeah. Can I see the question again?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I was thinking about something with what you were saying about something else that I learned or am learning. Oh, which is just these broader dynamics of storytelling. Um, you know, think of like commercial storytelling, you think of maybe like, I don't know, Disney or something like that. But I feel like maybe this wave of Broadway that I feel that we are kind of a part of, which has already started to bring in more inspirations from outside this just commercial world. I feel like is also how to, what am I trying to say? It makes me think about authentic storytelling and creativity. So when you like musical theater is storytelling. But I've tried to think beyond just like the first time I saw The Wiz on Broadway, but the genius that it takes to like create things like this, like to create these musicals. But how do you make it where it's so authentic, where it's still within? My words are escaping me. But what I learned is that there's various ways of storytelling from the body. And it doesn't always start with just singing a monologue from a musical, but it's also within the connection of the performers on the stage. And sometimes that is the story within itself. And so I think about that when David says, when I think about what else could be on the stage, it's just us and you. And that's all that it is. And so within that, it makes me think of within my own work and then other work outside of commercial worlds where it's not just about the destination of the performance, but it's also about the journey. And it's also about the experience of us as beings in the space and not just putting on a show. And knowing that whatever story is being told, it's connecting to other audience members and their stories, connecting to other cast members and their stories. And that's something that should always be able to come into the room with us and allow us to continue to keep dreaming and use it to dream rather than escape from.
Ooh.
That's what I was trying to say. Something like that.
I love that. Well, no, because I mean, I always think Broadway is so like escapist. And I mean, we think of theater a lot of times as like escapist, but to think of it as like imaginatory and like dream oriented instead of like escape, like run away. What about dive in?
Dive in with yourself and then dream within that.
Yeah.
Which is what, like with You Fly, what we love to do. And then seeing these shows come out like Thoughts of a Colored Man, Slave Play, even Moulin Rouge, like these shows are, you know, Jack Little Pill, Tina, where like it's not just about escaping, it's like diving in with story.
Yeah.
You know?
You know, if you're watching this and you're interested in, if you're like excited about the new stuff that's coming to Broadway, go see it before it's on Broadway. There are hundreds of theaters in New York City. We both would not be here today if no one saw the work that we made in non-Broadway houses. And so, and I think that's just a really important thing to remember. There are two shows on Broadway right now, Is This a Room and Dana H., which are, their run just got truncated. It's really, really sad. Some of the best theater that's ever existed, but they're closing really soon, which is a bummer. But it also is exciting that they were here and that they even made it this far. But those pieces are exactly kind of this thing that you're talking about of using the, like having the bodies on stage and the movements and the words and everything really be creating this thing in a formally interesting way that's not just about standing and singing your emotions in a very traditional way. But they're not going to be the last. There's going to be lots more work like that coming up. And
there's room for all of it.
Yeah, go see it. Go down to the Kitchen. Go to New York Theater Workshop. Go to BAM. Go to New York Live Arts. Go to BAM
and see Annie B's upcoming performance.
The Mood Room, November 30th through December 5th. Yeah.
You want to see more of Annie B. Person's choreography?
Yeah. Thank you, Tendayi, for talking with me.
Thanks, Chris.
And thank you, TDF fans.
Thanks,
for
family.
watching. Come see our show. We'll be here for a while. I believe we're selling through March right now. Go on TDF, get some sweet deals.
Come spend the holidays with us.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll be here.
We'll be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.